Well, Campbell Newman is spending a few days getting better acquainted with the far north. I caught up with him earlier. Campbell Newman, your remarks this week that Parliament is only a mechanism and we shouldn't be too obsessed by it, that sounds a bit dismissive of the institution. Are you saying it's not important?
Not at all. What I'm saying, though, is that politicians are very focused on Parliament. People, though, in the community are incredibly turned off by the politics of our state parliament, and I think they're particularly distressed when they know the state has such huge issues, such as the cost of living on families, the poor budgetary position and the spiralling debt of the state government, and then they see their politicians sort of belting each other up in a verbal sense rather than dealing with the real issues. That's what I was referring to.
Well, you got a chance to see the opposition MPs perform this week, and I guess with a bit of a slip of the tongue, you called them your shallow cabinet. After what you've seen, have you got much depth in your team?
Look, there's a lot of great people there, and as I've said, I will be looking at the positions for shadow cabinet, and I'm doing that right now, and I intend to make an announcement in the coming days. It won't be something I'll be agonising over. We'll be making some decisions and making announcements soon.
I want to ask about policy, which we haven't heard much of yet from you, but one thing you have talked about is water, and Anna Bligh has announced councils can go back to the old regime where they were in charge of water and pricing. You must support that.
Look, there are 4 points to my plan to deal with the high cost of water on families. Firstly, we need to amalgamate all the bureaucracies at the bulk water level, so the organisations that run the dams, the desal plant, the grid, the water pipelines need to be brought together, significant savings there. Secondly, we need to write off the non-performing assets, and that's an accounting sort of issue. Thirdly, we need an extended debt repayment program. What they're trying to do is quite insidious. It's like trying to pay off your house in 10 years instead of 25 years. Your payments are higher. If we spread the repayment over a 40 to 50 year period, which is the life of these water assets, it will take the pressure off prices. And finally, the bit that the Premier's announced, and we finally pushed her to do this, and I'm quite cheerful for South East Queensland residents that at least this decision or announcement's been made, and that is to give the water distribution and retail back to councils, put the water and sewage bill back on the rates notice, make it clear that mayors and councils are accountable. I mean, someone now will be politically accountable again, and I can tell you what, you're going to get some better outcomes.
You're in regional Queensland for the first time since becoming LNP leader. What have you got for them?
Look, I'm absolutely thrilled to be out here. I mean, I'm making it very clear to people that I am standing to be Premier of Queensland, not Premier of Brisbane. What I will bring, firstly, is an approach that says that I'm just so enthusiastic about this state, and I recognise that the strength of Queensland comes from its diversity, from the sort of the rural and regional towns that are going to need support they haven't had for 2 decades. We need to deal with some of the important infrastructure issues. For example, getting the larger cruise liners into the Port of Cairns, and that means dealing with the port issues, the channel depth. There's infrastructure issues to support the community. The tourism industry is in the absolute doldrums.
One of the big challenges in regional Queensland is this issue of coal seam gas development versus agriculture. How would you deal with that?
Look, we are reviewing currently our position statement and our policy on the whole coal seam industry. All I will say today is that it is a vital economic project or sector for Queensland. It must ultimately go ahead, but what we need to do is put in place appropriate controls to protect high quality farming land, to protect obviously the aquifer, the artesian water. That's incredibly important. And finally, something again that we're very big on in my team, and that is making sure that local communities actually see dollars coming back from this. We don't want to see a pipeline of resource going to the coast from the rural areas of Queensland and the money not coming back. These communities are seeing impacts right now. Their roads are being pounded to pieces. There's pressures and affordability issues in towns like Chinchilla, etc., and Dalby. Those things need to be addressed, and there needs to be money coming back ultimately from royalties from coal seam gas into local communities. So we will be putting out a policy which clearly tells how we'll do that.
Campbell Newman, thanks for your time.
Thanks very much, Jess.